Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to have a look at another beer from one of my local breweries here in Skåne in the very south of the country. And these guys are a pretty quirky brewery, I have to say. For this review then we are going to return to Landskrona and we're having a look at another beer from Brekeriet, who are a specialist sour beer brewery. This one is called the Ruby Gems and it was released as part of the local and Småsiglig assortment in February of 2020. They're describing this one as a gluten-free and organic wild ale with strawberries and blackberries, and this one is 4.7% ABV. So very curious to see how this one turns out. This must be review number 12 or 13. If I remember correctly, from Brekeriet. They've always got some very interesting beers. The last one that I reviewed was the Leaf Drop, which was a kind of straight up saison, but it was interesting, but definitely not the best one that I've had from Brekeriet. I hope this one kind of continues along the lines of the likes of Wrapped in Red, Purple Rain, and the Sour and Salt. Those are probably my three top beers that I can think of that I've had from these guys. But a really interesting little brewery, this one, and it's one that you definitely need to check out if you are interested in Swedish craft beer. One of the most unique breweries I think that we have here in Sweden actually, so check them out. But yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Brekeriet before. No doubt there will be some more at some point in the near future. There's two beers in particular that I want to see if I can review, the Mimosa and the Cassis. Those are I think still available through Systembolaget, so you'll see those pretty soon. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brekeriet then. So Brekeriet were originally based in Jörslöv, which is just outside of Malmö, I think out to the east of the city, not far away from Malmö airport at Sturup, but the company is now based in Landskrona, which is a little bit further north, kind of halfway between Lund and Helsingborg. But the company was founded back in 2011 by the Ek brothers, Fredrik, Christian and Andre, and they're a specialist brewery in wild beers, sour ales, whatever you want to call them, that use Brettanomyces and Lactobacillus. And these guys were the first brewery in Sweden to do this, and as far as I know, they're the only specialist sour beer brewery that still exists in Sweden. Other breweries such as Dugges, Jämerdalen away up north, Örebro Bryghus, Temple in Uppsala, there are other breweries doing sours here, but these guys are the only ones that are completely specialised in this from what I gather. But the original brewery that they had was in the old brew house in Jörslöv, which was a share brewery, a commune brewery for the local farmers. They brewed their first beers there back in 2012, and this brewery had quite a modest production of only 500 litres per brew, and this was giving them a yearly capacity of around 38,000 litres of beer per year. But in 2015 they moved to their new brewery in Landskrona. They can produce 20 hectolitres per brew there, and they have a fermentation capacity of 80 hectolitres. Initially they were producing their Wild Bunch beers, the non-sour series, continuously in Landskrona, and they were brewing their Sour Patch, which is the mixed fermentation sours, and the speciality kind of one-off brews that they were doing. Those were being brewed down in Jörslöv, and they did that for about 1.5 years before they moved all production to Landskrona back in 2017, and they basically created a separate area for the mixed fermentation beers. But they also have the Wild series as well, which is their barrel-aged series, and they use a variety of different yeast strains in those as well. So quite often you will find certain beers, like for example the Cassis that I mentioned earlier that I'd like to review, they do have a Wild version of that as well, the wild version, the barrel aged version. So those are definitely worth checking out as well. They come out every so often through either the local and Småsiglig, or some of them come out in the small partiers or the Tillfälligt assortment, I believe it's now called. But in 2014, another interesting point about this brewery is that in 2014 they caused a little bit of a stir because they withdrew completely from Systembolaget in Sweden, or state-owned alcohol stores, you know, basically citing the bureaucracy as being a kind of hindrance to them. But they decided to focus on their exports abroad, and it's interesting that because they probably could get away with that being very close to Denmark, because then you have access into the free market of Europe when it comes to alcohol. But their beers made a return to Systembolaget in 2016, thankfully, and as of February 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced in the region of 160 different types of beers according to Untappd. So yeah, a really interesting brewery, this one. Family-owned company, which is nice, and I really recommend that you check these guys out if you get the chance. If you're interested in Swedish beer, this is definitely one of the kind of quirkier breweries that you check out. I'd really recommend Sour and Salt. I'm not sure if that's still available actually, but Wrapped in Red and Purple Rain are still there. And you know, one of my other favourites that I had was Swedish Ninja, which was a collaboration with Pipeworks Brewing over in the US, so in Chicago actually. So yeah, that was a really, really good beer, and those are probably my favourite ones that I've had so far. Mimosa and Cassis, I think, are the next two that I'd like to check out from these guys, but I'm pretty sure Mimosa is still available through Systembolaget. I'm not sure about the Cassis, but maybe they'll appear at some point fairly soon again. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about Brekeriet. You know, if you want to learn more, check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram as well, and that will keep you up to date with all the latest goings on. And if you want to learn more about the different beers that they've done, you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages for the brewery. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. If memory serves me correctly, this is the first one I've had from them that is gluten-free. This beer is part of the Sour Batch series. It says Ruby Gems is part of our collection of beers known as the Sour Patch, fermented with different wild yeast strains and lactic acid bacteria cultures. So yeah, there's a lot of science goes into these beers as well. I'll be very curious to see what their lab setup is. I need to maybe contact Brekeriet and see if we can do a little meet the brewer or something like this. But there you can see the Brekeriet B on the bottle cap there. Some of the beers have a black bottle cap with a white B on it. But yeah, really, really nice. And it also has the EU organic symbol on it as well, and it says that this one is best before the 20th of November 2024, and I'm guessing that this one will have been bottled back in November then, so they're saying that it has an aging time of 4 years roughly. So yeah, I'll be curious to know how they arrive at that actually, because sour beers are very interesting in that way. I wonder why it's like 4 years. Some of them recommend about 2 or 3 years, so maybe that's something that I need to ask them at some point, because they will know, I'm sure. But yeah, nicely presented beer, this one. There you can see the message for it, from Skåne with love. So yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Really curious to see how this one turns out. Getting a little bit excited, as you can see, and we'll get it out and into the glass. I think this is going to be quite nice. Look at that. Yeah. So we have got a good little bit of head on this one. So 4.7% gluten-free organic wild ale with strawberries and blackcurrants added to the brew. So yeah, as you can see then, this one's poured a lovely kind of bright, I don't know how we would describe that. We would describe that as a kind of cherry colour almost. A lovely kind of bright candy apple red. It reminds me of some of these Fender guitar colours actually. Candy apple red is probably a good way to describe this one. You could see that there was a solid finger of a frothy kind of pink head there. That's fading away very quickly to just be a very thin foamy layer. I've really got to sugar the glass up to keep that head there. But I mean, overall, if you think that this is a sort of strawberry and blackcurrant beer, it looks pretty nice actually. If I remembered that right, is it blackcurrants? Yeah, strawberries and blackcurrants. Because I was just thinking to myself there, should blackcurrants not be a bit darker than that? But yeah, the colour of this one definitely leans towards the kind of strawberry end of the spectrum. But a really nice looking beer. If I put my fingers behind the glass there, you can see that this one is pretty damn hazy. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall it looks pretty nice, and it's not overly surprising in terms of its appearance when you consider what it is. So let's have a look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Oh yeah, right. So straight away with this one, you can really smell the juiciness of the berries in here. This one, in terms of its aroma, doesn't come across to me as being overly tart. Lactobacillus, is it lactobacillus that's in this one? Doesn't say. Sometimes they usually tell you. So this one, it just says different yeast strains. I'd be curious to know that, whether it's Brettanomyces or Lactobacillus. It's maybe a mix, of course, because I think Brekeriet have a lot of their own kind of things. But it's interesting because you do notice slightly different aromas in these, and I'm still trying to learn that, of course. The whole point of me doing this channel is, you know, a beer learning journey, if you like. But the sour notes you get in this one, I don't find them as prominent as I remember in some of the other Brekeriet beers. This one really leans towards the berry side of things, and you can pick out the juiciness of the strawberries in there, and the more oily notes from the blackberries. I think it's the sort of the slight sourness you get out of this is more to do with the strawberries, I think, but there is a little bit of earthiness mixed in with that as well, which is quite interesting. A little bit of an earthy herbal kind of thing. Underneath that though, you can definitely smell a little bit of woodiness. I think there's a wee teeny hint of vanilla in there as well, and there's a wee bit of grassiness, I think, to this beer too. And this is the thing I'll say about Brekeriet, is that I found some of their beers can be really quite complex in terms of their aroma, but some of them can be really kind of straight up and very simple. I mean, you know, if they say the beer has strawberries and blackcurrants in it, those are the main notes, and you've just got a few little other things going on underneath. The Brekeriet beers, they're not the most complex in terms of aroma, but in terms of flavour, they're very straight up and very drinkable and very nice, to be honest with you. That's my kind of impression of Brekeriet. But this one to me comes across as more juicy and fruity than some of the other ones I've had from them in the aroma. A few woody notes in there, like I said, a little bit of a herbal, earthy kind of thing, and you've also got a wee bit of a woody note to this one too. So a really nice smelling beer, actually. I wonder if some of the kind of woody notes, because there is the malt smells a little bit different in this, and I'm guessing that'll be because it's gluten-free. I haven't reviewed too many gluten-free beers for you on the channel, and maybe that's the reason this beer comes across as a little bit more juicy. I'm speculating, of course, but this one does just smell a little bit different compared to how I remember the other Brekeriet beers before. But I'm quite curious about this one now, I have to say. So let's have a taste of it and see how we get on. As I always say, take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. So this one is the Ruby Gems, a gluten-free organic sour beer from Brekeriet in Landskrona here in Skåne, with strawberries and blackcurrants rather, not blackberries, and at 4.7%. Let's see how we get on. Slange, skål. Oh yeah, that is a return to form for Brekeriet. I like this one. Again, it's one of these sour beers that's very kind of straight up. I think where this brewery really kind of excel, to be honest, is when they have these the sour beers that you get here. They're a bit, you know, they're lower in alcohol. They're designed for the drinkability element, to be honest, and I think they've really got it down to a T. My favourite ones, like I say, Sour and Salt, the Wrapped in Red, Purple Rain. You know, this one maybe could match that. It is quite different to those, I would say, because I don't find this one quite as malty, but this is pretty solid, I have to say. So thumbs up to Brekeriet for this one. They've done a nice job of this. And I always think with sour beers, it's all about how you make that transition from the kind of tartness that you get in the beginning and how the beer smooths out. And Brekeriet do that really quite well, actually. I've been reviewing a lot of sour beers on the channel recently because of you know, they just seem to being released and be a little bit more easily accessible to me, to be honest. And of course there was the Mikkeller Baghaven Wild Ale celebration, which I don't think Brekeriet were at, and I was surprised about that, to be honest. But I'm really developing my palate in terms of sour beers these days, and I like this one. This, you know, as I say, this gets a big thumbs up from me. Let's try and break down the flavour of this then a little bit and see how we get on. So yeah, when you take this beer in then, the first thing that you're going to notice about this is how juicy it is. Like I said, this one to me it's not one of the more malty ones that I remember having from Brekeriet. This one strikes me, it really leans more towards the kind of fruity end of the spectrum, but when you take it in, you get this lovely little bit of tartness out of it, and then the juiciness of the blackcurrants and the strawberries in this really takes hold. I think this beer generally leans a little bit more towards the strawberry side of things. I mean, around that front edge of the tongue, it's really the juicy strawberries that linger there. But blackcurrants are quite juicy themselves, but I really think this one leans more towards strawberry rather than blackcurrant. So I like that about it, I have to say. I can't remember having too many strawberry sours, in fairness. So yeah, when you take this in, I think you get a little bit more blackcurrant out of it, but then it starts to lean more towards the strawberry end of the spectrum. I think that's fair to say. But the middle of your palate, it's really a very kind of smooth, woody note that you get out of this one. There's maybe, if you go to the very centre of your tongue, there's maybe a little bit of a very slight biscuity note to the beer. There's maybe a wee teeny touch of breadiness, but as I say, this really isn't the most bready, the most malty rather, of beers that you're going to get from Brekeriet. So that's an interesting point. I haven't reviewed too many gluten-free beers. I think the only other one, I don't think I've even tried all that many of them, so maybe that's something that I need to look at on the channel over the next while, because we get some of the Brewdog ones, and there's a few other gluten-free beers out there as well, but I find the malty quality in this one quite light, but it does sweeten up a little bit, in fairness, as you go further into it, and you've got that typical kind of woodiness that you expect from a sour beer, and as you come further forward on the tongue, you maybe get just a little hint of vanilla there behind the fruity part of the beer, which is interesting. On the edge of the tongue then, in terms of hoppiness, there's maybe a teeny little bit of earthiness there in the back corners of the palate. As you move further forward on the sides of the tongue, that kind of sticks there, and there's a little bit of grassiness around the front edge of the palate. I'm not sure if they will have actually used hops in this, to be honest with you. I'm saying there is a bit of grassiness and earthiness there, and I would stick by that. And I've even found that with sour beers where they say, right, we don't use hops, you still get a few kind of earthy and grassy flavours in there, but in this case they're very, very smooth. But when it comes to the fruity side of things, when you add fruit to a beer, it sort of suppresses the green side of things, and I mean, more often than not, they'll either use hops that are quite old, like Belgian hops that are fairly old and are not going to give you a lot of bitterness, or they won't use hops at all. Not sure exactly what the case in this one is, but the Belgian hops are always, they've got a little bit more of an English earthiness to them, but they mainly maintain the German kind of grassiness and nobleness in other aspects of their flavour. So you do get a little bit of that. I do find this beer to be a little bit grassy, but around the edge of the tongue, as you progress further into the aftertaste, it really leans towards that juicy kind of strawberry type element, which is nice. You get the black currants in the beginning, like I said, when you take the beer in, but really it's strawberry-ish around the kind of edge of the palate for me. Whenever you add fruit to the beer, it suppresses that kind of green hoppy edge to the beer. But yeah, this one to me, it strikes me as one of the less malty but more juicy sours that I've come across before. But I like what they've done with this. The other things that are kind of that I'm thinking about this beer is you do get a little bit of an earthy herbal kind of quality out of this one from the strawberries the further you go into the aftertaste too. And strawberries are quite a, you know, they're a little bit of a staple fruit in Scotland, if you like. We get a lot of berries, strawberries and raspberries in Scotland. Not so many blackcurrants and things like that, or blueberries, but yeah, a lot of strawberries and raspberries. So it's a fruit that I really do quite appreciate, actually. So for me, this one ticks quite a few boxes. I like what they've done with this, and I need to investigate the gluten-free thing a little bit more and get used to it. But as generally as a sour beer, I think Brekeriet have done a nice job of this one. Would I rate it above some of my other favourites? I'm not sure, but it's not far off being on par with those, actually. Like I say, Wrapped in Red, Purple Rain and Sour and Salt, I think, are still my favourites that I've had from this brew. There's probably a couple of others in there that I've really enjoyed that I'm forgetting. Swedish Ninja was an older one, right enough. I've had Queen's Quad, I think, too, which was slightly different, a sour quad beer. But I do like what they've done with this one. This is, for me, a return to form for Brekeriet, but I need to see what else they've got available and review those as well. But definitely one of the more juicy and lighter, less malty sours that I've come across in recent times. So interesting. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel of this one then, yeah, I would say that overall this is a kind of mid-bodied beer. I actually find this one to be quite thick for a sour beer. It has got a good bit of oiliness to it. The carbonation is very smooth at the same time. Malt base, like I said, is very light. You don't get too much in the way of sweetness from this beer. You do get a little bit of a smoothness towards the front of the palate the further you go into the aftertaste, but some lovely juiciness. It's a little bit sharp and puckering in the beginning, but overall I think this one is really very nice. So thumbs up to Brekeriet for this one. The Ruby Gems, an organic, gluten-free sour beer at 4.7% with strawberries and blackcurrants in it. A return to form for Brekeriet for me. So I look forward to seeing what they next release through the local and småsidligt assortment. So I need to see if I can get the Cassis and the Mimosa to review for you at some point as well. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Brekeriet as well, and you will definitely see some more reviews from these guys at some point soon. The Ruby Gems, 4.7% gluten-free organic wild beer with strawberries and blackcurrants from Brekeriet in Landskrona here in Skåne in the south of Sweden. Check this one out, a really interesting beer to review for you here on the channel. Thanks for watching, check out my social media, and I'll catch you guys very soon. Slange, skål, cheers.